To the outside world, the British royal family is a masterclass in continuity. A flawless, tightly orchestrated theater of tradition, duty, and quiet resilience. We see the state banquets, the gleaming carriages, the polite smiles exchanged on the Buckingham Palace balcony. We are told that the wounds of the past have healed. We are told that the transition of power from Queen Elizabeth to King Charles was seamless. And most importantly, we are told that Queen Camilla, once the most despised woman in Britain, has been warmly integrated into the heart of the monarchy. But what if I told you that every single piece of that narrative is a carefully constructed lie? What the mainstream media is completely, willfully missing is the absolute magnitude of what just occurred behind palace doors. We are not talking about a petty family disagreement over titles or seating arrangements. We are talking about the literal theft and attempted black market auction of Princess Diana's actual, historically priceless jewelry. We are talking about a brutal, unprecedented constitutional threat delivered to a recovering king. And we are talking about Prince William using the full, terrifying weight of the British legal system to completely annihilate his stepmother's financial empire overnight. This is the exact type of ruthless, blood and soil power struggle that permanently alters the hierarchy of the monarchy. It is a story of greed, legacy, and a son's cold-blooded revenge. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and get comfortable. Because over the next few minutes, we are going to expose, step by step, exactly how the Prince of Wales executed a flawless, invisible palace coup. To understand why this scandal almost destroyed the monarchy, you have to understand the power of Diana's legacy. When Princess Diana tragically passed away in 1997, she left behind more than just a grieving nation. She left behind a staggering collection of personal wealth and historically significant artifacts. While the iconic sapphire engagement ring went to William and eventually to Catherine, Princess of Wales, there was a vast secondary collection of jewelry. These were private gifts, masterworks of high-end craftsmanship that Diana wore during her most rebellious, independent years. Among them were 14 specific pieces, including a flawless black diamond pendant on a delicate platinum chain, and an intricate, custom-crafted sapphire bracelet. Legally, these items fell into a gray area. They were not formal crown jewels housed in the Tower of London, but rather royal collection assets, kept in the highly secure, climate-controlled vaults at Highgrove House. The unspoken rule within the family was absolute. These pieces were never to be seen again until Princess Charlotte came of age. They were ghosts of the past, locked away in the dark. But Queen Camilla has never been one to respect the ghosts of the past. Over her 2 decades inside the royal fold, Camilla played the longest, most calculated game in royal history. She survived the public hatred, she secured the crown, and slowly, quietly, she placed her civilian family, the Parker Bowles and the Lopes families, firmly inside the untouchable circle of royal privilege. And with that privilege came proximity to the vaults, proximity to the secrets, and, most dangerously, proximity to the money. When Queen Elizabeth died, Prince William didn't just inherit the title of Prince of Wales. He inherited the Duchy of Cornwall. For those who don't know, the duchy isn't just a piece of land. It is a billion-dollar, tax-exempt corporate empire. It controls vast swathes of British real estate, commercial developments, and highly complex financial trusts. Upon taking control, William initiated a ruthless, forensic audit of the duchy's books. And what his accountants found reportedly made his blood run cold. Buried deep within layers of bureaucratic shell companies were private, gray-area financial trusts. These trusts had been quietly, systematically funneling duchy wealth directly to Camilla's civilian family for over 20 years. It was an invisible pipeline of royal money funding private aristocratic lifestyles. William didn't issue a warning. He didn't leak a story to the press. He simply dropped a financial nuclear bomb. Back in May, William executed a maneuver that sent shockwaves through the executive levels of the palace. He unilaterally liquidated 20% of the entire commercial real estate portfolio belonging to the duchy. He pulled a staggering £500 million directly out of the active market. The official palace PR statement was incredibly boring, claiming the maneuver was for community reinvestment. But the brutal truth was undeniable. William was deliberately dismantling the shadow funds. He cut off the Queen Consort's money supply overnight. Palace advisors begged him to reconsider, warning that this would trigger a massive internal war. William's response was chillingly calm. He reportedly didn't even look up from his desk. He simply said, "Let it happen." By severing the financial pipelines, William backed Camilla's inner circle into a corner. And a desperate animal is always the most dangerous. Bleeding money and locked out of the duchy's accounts, Camilla's family allegedly panicked. In their desperation, they attempted a highly illegal, incredibly sloppy cash grab that would prove to be their ultimate undoing. On a rainy Tuesday in late May, a woman walked through the private VIP entrance of Sotheby's auction house in Mayfair, London. It was Laura Lopes, Queen Camilla's civilian daughter. She wasn't there to browse. She was attempting to quietly catalog some very specific jewelry for an upcoming, highly exclusive private auction in Geneva. She presented the black diamond pendant and the sapphire bracelet. To the untrained eye of a junior appraiser, they looked like standard, albeit incredibly expensive vintage heirlooms from a wealthy aristocratic family. The plan was simple: intentionally erase the royal provenance, reclassify them as anonymous private estate items, and quietly sell them off to foreign oligarchs or billionaires for massive personal profit. But laundering stolen crown property requires a level of absolute secrecy that simply does not exist in modern London. The high-end art and jewelry world is incredibly small. Within 48 hours, a senior appraiser at Sotheby's noticed a familiar pattern in the sapphire's setting. A quiet, encrypted email was sent directly to a contact at Kensington Palace. When William's private secretary opened the intercepted catalog images, the reaction was instantaneous. There was no mistaken identity. These were Diana's legendary pieces. The items that were supposed to be locked in the Highgrove vault had been physically smuggled out by the Queen's family. The absolute second Prince William received the Sotheby's intercept. The polite facade of the modern monarchy evaporated. He didn't call his father. He didn't schedule a family summit. He completely bypassed standard royal diplomacy and initiated a terrifying constitutional escalation. William immediately canceled his entire international schedule. He mobilized a specialized team of elite, notoriously aggressive litigators at Farrer and Company, the royal family's private law firm, and traveled directly to Sandringham to confront King Charles. This was not an emotional conversation between a father and a son. It was a highly calculated, ruthless legal ambush. William walked into the king's private study carrying a single leather binder. Inside was a devastating document, a letters patent for asset reclassification. William looked directly at the king, a monarch still recovering from severe health issues, and delivered a brutal, uncompromising ultimatum. Either Charles signs the document immediately to legally reclassify and protect the crown's historical assets from his wife's family, or William would leave the room, drive back to London, and formally petition the Privy Council. The petition would request that the king be declared medically and mentally unfit to rule due to his inability to secure state assets. This move would effectively force a regency, stripping Charles of his power and making William the Prince Regent with full, unchecked executive authority. It was a constitutional checkmate. King Charles was trapped, facing a catastrophic crisis that would destroy the credibility of his reign. The king yielded to his son. With a shaking hand, he signed the decree. The moment the ink dried on the king's signature, William unleashed the absolute full, terrifying force of the British legal system. He didn't wait for the morning. On May 23rd, his legal team filed a Mar-Eva injunction with the High Court. A Mar-Eva injunction is a global freezing order. It is the nuclear option of British corporate law. Within minutes, every single bank account, offshore trust fund, and investment portfolio associated with Laura Lopes was entirely frozen. She was completely financially paralyzed. Then came the physical strike. At exactly 5:30 in the morning on May 24th, a convoy of unmarked police vans descended upon Laura's private Wiltshire estate. This wasn't a polite request for an interview. It was a high court enforcement raid authorized by a ministerial search warrant. Officers breached the property, systematically searched the master suites, located the black diamond pendant and the sapphire bracelet, and immediately seized the stolen artifacts. While the police were tearing through her daughter's estate, Queen Camilla was frantically attempting to mount a massive public relations defense. She desperately tried to invoke sovereign immunity to shield Laura. But her lawyers broke the bad news. Constitutional protection does not apply to civilian relatives caught holding stolen state property. Camilla's next move was her classic playbook: leak a twisted narrative to her vast network of friendly journalists. But William was already 3 steps ahead. He had secretly secured strict high court super injunctions that legally gagged the entire British mainstream media. The entire Buckingham Palace press office was placed under a total communication blackout. Camilla was entirely silenced, trapped in a glass cage, watching her family's empire burn. To ensure Camilla's family could never attempt a heist like this again, William created the Diana Heritage Trust, an ironclad legal entity permanently locking every piece of Diana's jewelry exclusively into William's direct bloodline. It looked like the perfect, invisible palace coup. William had won. But just when it appeared the war was over, a terrifying classified file leaked from the Ministry of Justice that shatters the entire victory. The pendant and bracelet recovered during the 5:30 a.m. raid? They were only 2 pieces. Inventory audits revealed that there are 14 documented masterworks missing from the Highgrove repository. 12 other priceless artifacts are still missing. And according to highly classified digital tracking data, those 12 pieces are no longer in the UK. They have already been smuggled out of the country and are currently sitting in an anonymous, private holding company registered in Delaware. A corporate black hole completely outside the jurisdiction of the British High Court. This completely rewrites the narrative. Laura Lopes getting caught at Sotheby's wasn't a desperate mistake. It was a distraction. It was a sloppy error in a much larger, highly sophisticated operation designed to permanently relocate Diana's legacy out of British legal reach. Who orchestrated the offshore smuggling? The forensic paper trail investigating the Delaware holding company uncovered a terrifying code name for the operation: the Montecito Connection. If you know anything about the current geography of the royal family, that name points directly to one specific, highly guarded location in Southern California. The implications are absolutely staggering. Are Prince Harry and Meghan Markle currently holding 12 missing pieces of Princess Diana's legacy hostage in a private offshore account? Were they working with Camilla's network? Or did they orchestrate their own extraction? William may have won the domestic war, but the ultimate leverage has just been relocated across the Atlantic. And the true battle for Diana's legacy is only just beginning.